I wish I could say this started with a mistake, but that would be too easy. The truth is, I saw the train coming and still stood on the tracks. One moment I was putting dinner on the table, and the next, my husband was staring at me like I was a stranger. Not angry. Not hurt. Just gone. Like everything we built together had vanished in his mind. And maybe it had. He didn't yell. He didn't ask questions. He just picked up his keys and walked out the door, like I was some tenant whose lease had finally expired. And the worst part? I didn't even know what he had seen. I only knew something had shattered, and there was no rewind button for what I'd done. Now, I'm left picking up the shards of a life I took for granted. And praying the damage isn't permanent. But deep down, I already know. It is. Before I tell you what happened next, make sure you're watching this alone, because some secrets hit a little too close to home. I'm Camila. 33. And the thing about being married to someone stable, safe, and loyal is that you forget what chaos looks like, until you bring it into your own house. When I met Ryan, I thought he was too nice to be real. He remembered the smallest details from our conversations. He carried backup umbrellas just in case I forgot mine. He made coffee for both of us every morning, even if we were arguing. You'd think that kind of man would be enough. But somehow, I still found a way to ruin it. We'd been married almost 7 years. No kids, not yet. We'd been trying. I told myself that's why I was so frustrated all the time, because we weren't getting pregnant, because my body was betraying me, because life felt paused. But the truth? I think I was just waiting for something to break. And instead of fixing it, I picked up the hammer myself. I work in publishing. Boring to most people, but I love it. Reading manuscripts, working with passionate writers, it's the only place I feel seen. That's where I met Luca. He wasn't even a client. He was the new audio engineer our company had hired for a podcast division. Handsome in a lazy, dangerous way. He'd walk in late, flirt openly, make jokes no one else could get away with. And for some reason, I laughed. I laughed every time. I told myself it was harmless. That I just liked the attention. Who wouldn't? Ryan hadn't complimented me in weeks. Not because he didn't love me, just because he assumed I already knew. And maybe that was the problem. I stopped feeling noticed. Luca noticed. He noticed the way I changed my hair. The blouse I wore when I had meetings. The way I bit my lip when I was stressed. He noticed, and Ryan didn't. That's how it started. It was never supposed to go beyond flirty banter in the break room. But one Friday night, the office was quiet. I was staying late, trying to finish a pitch. Luca walked by with a smoothie in one hand and a smirk on his face. "You need to get out of here," he said, leaning on the edge of my desk. "You look like you're about to cry over that font." I laughed, too tired to push him away. "This deadline's killing me." He sat beside me, close enough to smell his cologne, spicy, something expensive. "You want help? Or distraction?" My heart skipped. "I'm married," I said quickly. He didn't flinch. Just smiled like he'd expected that answer. I didn't ask. That should have been the red flag. That right there. But I let him stay. We talked. We laughed. And then we kissed. Just a kiss, just one, and I told myself it didn't count. But I knew even then, everything was about to spiral. I went home that night and climbed into bed next to Ryan, heart racing, stomach twisted in guilt. He pulled me close like he always did. Kissed my shoulder. Asked how my night went. And I lied. I said it was fine. I didn't sleep at all. Over the next few weeks, it became easier. The lies, I mean. I'd meet Luca for lunch between meetings. I'd come home late claiming traffic or client calls. I told myself I wasn't cheating. Not really. There hadn't been sex, just touches, glances, whispered things in parking garages that made me feel alive again. That was the drug, feeling alive. Like someone wanted me, truly wanted me. Ryan wanted a family. He wanted routine, calm, the forever after love. I wanted that too, didn't I? I don't know. All I know is that I let something poisonous grow between us without even trying to stop it. One night, I came home later than usual. Ryan had made dinner, pasta, my favorite. He looked at me like he was searching my face for something. "Everything okay?" he asked, watching me from across the table. "Yeah," I lied again. "Just tired." He nodded. But I could tell something was off. He didn't push. He never pushed. Maybe that's why I kept doing it, because he didn't stop me. The thing is, Luca never asked for more. He never tried to ruin my life. I ruined it all on my own. I invited him into the cracks of my marriage like I was daring fate to punish me. And fate accepted the challenge. The night it all blew up, I was careless. Ryan was supposed to be gone, he had a guy's night planned. I figured it was safe. Luca came over. Not for anything physical, just to talk. That's what I told myself. Just wine and venting and maybe a kiss or two. But he left his jacket on the couch. And Ryan came home early. I heard the front door and nearly threw the glass out of my hand. Luca was gone by then, out the back like a ghost. But the evidence was there. The extra glass. The smell of cologne that didn't belong. The panic on my face. Ryan looked at me like I was a puzzle with one piece missing, and he knew exactly which piece it was. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He just stared, like he was seeing me for the first time. Then he said quietly, "Tell me the truth." And I couldn't. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. No explanation. No apology. No lie strong enough to hold the moment together. He turned, walked into the bedroom, and shut the door. I didn't follow. I sat on the floor, trying to remember the version of myself who would have begged him to stay. She was gone. By morning, he was gone too. I kept waiting for a door slam. For shouting. For something dramatic. But Ryan wasn't like that. He didn't give me a final scene. He just left the next morning like someone slipping out of a bad dream. Quiet. Controlled. Gone. His toothbrush was missing. His phone charger. The hoodie he always wore when he worked late, gone from the hook by the stairs. The silence in our apartment felt sharp, like it was trying to punish me. I checked my phone over and over, thinking maybe he'd text. He didn't. That entire day, I couldn't function. I sat on the kitchen floor staring at a coffee mug he'd used just 24 hours earlier. How do you go from sharing a life to being a stranger in your own home overnight? I tried calling him around noon. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Can we talk?" and watched the gray bubble sit there, undelivered. It was like I had been locked out of the only part of my life that ever felt safe. And the worst part? I did it to myself. By that evening, I was unraveling. I called his sister, Jamie, who'd always liked me, or at least pretended to. She picked up, but her voice was colder than usual. "Camila," she said, like my name tasted bitter. "What do you want?" I just need to know if he's okay. Please." She sighed so loudly it made me flinch. "You know what you did. I'm not getting in the middle of this. I didn't mean for this to happen." "You didn't mean for him to find out," she snapped. "Or you didn't mean to sleep with someone who isn't your husband?" I couldn't even defend myself. I had no version of the truth that didn't make me the villain. "He won't talk to me," I whispered. "Then maybe take the hint," she said. "He's done." And the line went dead. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like his key in the lock. I kept imagining the door opening, him walking back in with tired eyes, saying, "Let's talk." But that moment never came. By the third day, the reality sank in. Ryan wasn't just angry. He was disappearing. Quietly removing himself from every corner of my world. I tried one last time. Drove to his office, waited in the parking lot like some deranged ex. When he walked out, he saw me, but didn't stop. Just kept walking like I was invisible. "Ryan," I called out. "Please. 2 minutes. That's all." He didn't even look at me. That night, I lost it. I trashed the wine glasses Luca and I used, ripped the sheets off the bed, shoved every stupid little reminder of that night into a box and duct taped it shut. Like sealing it would make it disappear from memory. But memories don't work like that. The next morning, an email from Ryan arrived. Just a single line, "I'll be by Friday to grab my things. Please don't be home." I stared at it for over an hour. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trying to find the right combination of words to make him stay. But nothing came. Because I didn't deserve that chance. I texted Luca that day too. Not because I missed him. Because I was angry. Because part of me wanted someone to tell me this wasn't all my fault. He responded within minutes. "Can we talk?" I didn't reply. What would we even say? He'd been a distraction. A fantasy. But Ryan was real. The life we had was real. And I traded it all for a couple weeks of feeling desired. By Friday, I couldn't bring myself to leave the house. I wanted to see him. Needed to. I sat on the stairs like a kid in trouble, heart pounding as the door opened. He stepped inside, dressed in black, eyes tired but focused. When he saw me, he froze. "I asked you not to be here." "I know," I said. "But I need." "There's nothing to say." "Please, Ryan. Just 5 minutes." He set the box he was carrying on the counter and looked at me. Really looked. "You broke us," he said quietly. "I don't want your apology. I want peace." "I made a mistake," I said, tears slipping out before I could stop them. I was lost. I felt unseen. "So you cheated?" His voice didn't even rise. "That's how you fix feeling unseen? You open the door and let someone else in?" "It wasn't like that," I whispered. He laughed, bitter and tired. "Of course it was." I followed him as he moved through the apartment, grabbing random pieces of his life. Books. Socks. A half-finished Rubik's Cube from the coffee table. Every item he took felt like a nail in the coffin. "You didn't even fight," I said suddenly. "You just left." He paused. Because I've been fighting for us for years, Camila. You just didn't notice. That's when it hit me. All those quiet dinners. The folded laundry. The back rubs. The way he used to write good luck on my lunch napkins before big meetings. That was the fight. His love language wasn't loud. It was daily. And I missed all of it. I miss you, I whispered. He nodded slowly. I know. I used to miss you too. Even when you were sitting right beside me. He didn't say goodbye when he left. Just closed the door with the same silence he walked in with. That was the last time I saw him. The weeks after Ryan left moved like fog, thick, slow, hard to breathe in. I'd wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there, only to feel the cold side of the bed mocking me. Mornings became the worst part of the day. They were too honest. No one to lie to, no fake smiles to wear yet. Just me, my regret, and the sound of a quiet apartment that used to feel like home. I couldn't bring myself to go back to work. Not right away. I told HR it was personal leave, but everyone knew something had happened. Office gossip doesn't sleep, especially when your mistakes were perfume and show up late. Luca tried texting twice. The first one said, "I'm here if you need to talk." The second? Guess not. He didn't try again. Even Kara, my closest friend at the office, started acting distant. She wasn't cold, just careful. Like being around me too long might get her infected with bad decisions. I couldn't blame her. The worst part wasn't the guilt. It was the silence. The absence. No closure. Just a man I loved disappearing into a version of life where I didn't exist anymore. Eventually, I moved out. The apartment was in Ryan's name. He didn't ask me to leave directly, but his lawyer did. It felt worse coming from someone else. Like even my exit wasn't worth his words. I packed slowly, clinging to everything as if wrapping it in bubble wrap would undo what I did. The framed photo of us at the beach? I kept it. Couldn't throw it out. Couldn't look at it either. I moved into a small, overpriced one-bedroom near the city. It smelled like bleach and empty promises. I told myself it was temporary. That I'd rebuild. But some nights I just sat on the floor, surrounded by boxes, wondering if this was the rest of my life now, living in the consequences of my own stupidity. Everyone tells you to move on. No one tells you how. I tried therapy. The first session, I couldn't stop crying. I told the therapist I felt like a ghost in my own story. She asked why I cheated. I said I was lonely. She asked why I didn't tell Ryan I felt that way. I had no answer. Because I thought he'd just know? Because I didn't want to be the difficult wife? Because I wanted to be rescued without admitting I was drowning? Truth is, I was a coward. And cowards don't get fairy tale endings. One afternoon, about 3 months after it all ended, I ran into Ryan's best friend, Eli. We were both grabbing coffee. He saw me, nodded politely, tried to keep it quick. "How is he?" I asked, trying not to sound desperate. Eli hesitated. "Better," he said. "Different. But better." "Is he seeing anyone?" He looked down at his cup, then back at me. "Yeah. For a while now." It hit like a punch to the chest. Not because I didn't want him to move on, I did. I just always thought I'd have one last chance to explain myself. But he was already someone else's piece now. someone else's soft place to land. That night, I wrote him a letter. Not to send, just to write. I told him I was sorry. Not just for what I did, but for how blind I'd been to what he gave. I told him I missed his steadiness, his quiet kindness, the way he used to leave the porch light on if I was out late, like he was always waiting for me to come home. I told him I didn't deserve forgiveness. I just hoped he'd found the kind of love that didn't make him question himself the way I made him question everything. I cried writing it. Not for him, for me. For the version of me that ruined something good just to feel something new. That girl wasn't evil. She was insecure, impulsive, selfish. And she got exactly what she deserved. Sometimes people talk about karma like it's some grand justice. But karma is quiet. It's waking up alone every day in a bed that used to be warm. It's passing your favorite restaurant and remembering who used to sit across from you. It's scrolling through old photos and seeing a man smiling at you like you thought you'd never heard him. One day, I saw a post. Ryan's engagement. A soft candid of him holding hands with someone new, eyes full of peace. That was the moment I stopped hoping. Because he looked truly happy. Not trying to move on happy. Not smiling for Instagram happy. Real happy. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the screen, letting the final thread snap. He was gone. Not angry. Not bitter. Just healed. And that's the part that hurt the most, knowing he had let go, and I hadn't. I still haven't. People say time heals everything. But time doesn't heal what you refuse to face. It just wraps it up in silence until it festers. And even now, all these months later, I can still feel the weight of that choice. That single moment when I let someone into our life, thinking it wouldn't matter. It mattered. I could have talked to Ryan. I could have told him how lonely I felt. I could have asked for help, for more effort, for attention. But instead, I chose validation over vulnerability. I chose temporary over real. And now, I live with that choice every day. Sometimes I wonder if I'll love again. If anyone will see me and not just the mess I made. But I know one thing for sure, I'll never love anyone the way I loved him. Because that kind of love only comes once. And I let it slip right through my fingers.